What is on the list for today? Well, before we start, I want to show you something that happened to the car a few weeks ago, and it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So I was in a wreck a couple weeks ago, and as you can see, the rear quarter panel is a little smashed up, so that sucks. In a video that I made a little while ago, like last year, I was talking about whether or not I wanted to keep the stock body and fix the rust, or just do a wide body, well, over fenders, I guess. So it looks like I'm going over fenders, but what I'm going to be doing today is trying to set this cam angle sensor where it needs to be so I can have my timing correct. And I'm pretty sure I figured out the process, but for whatever reason I can't get it right. That's where it's at right now, and that's extremely advanced, I think, but it's running better than it was. So I think I'm still a tooth off on the cam angle sensor. So that's what we'll be doing today. I don't know if you can notice or not, but I'm back to my stock intake manifold. The Freddy manifold that I had on before was freaking terrible, leaking everywhere. So now I'm back to the stock one, and it's been working fine. So I'm gonna get started on this, and stick around. We're up to like 39 subscribers, I think. So that's awesome. Thanks for all your all's support. Really appreciate it. And let's get started. So now that I have the valve cover off, you can see the cam angle sensor, the little notch right here. And this notch is supposed to line up with that little yellow dot that I have marked right there. But to pull out the cam angle sensor, there's only two bolts you gotta take out, two 12mm bolts. There's one right here that I've already started, and then another one down there that I've already taken out. Pretty easy to find. So we got the valve cover off, cam angle sensor out, fan shroud out of the way, and the fan out. Next thing we're going to do is to set this thing to top dead center. I've already taken out the first spark plug, and the reason I do that is just to stick a long extension in there, just so I know that the piston is at the highest point. And I know that when this extension starts to come up, but I've got my socket on the crank, and I'll start turning it in my hand clockwise. Well, not yet because it's still in gear. Alright, now I will turn it clockwise. Watch the crank spin, and pulley is going. Blah, blah, blah. You can see the extensions start to come up, and I'm going to get this set up. Alright, so I came back inside for a little bit to take a little break. Not really a break, but it's a little cold outside, and I just wanted to warm up. Let's see. Engine mechanical is where I want to be at. This is the factory service manual for the S14 sr20, and if you don't have it, I highly recommend you get it because it's very helpful. Let's see, engine mechanical. I want to go to assemble. Alright, so here we are. As far as installing the cam angle position sensor, you can see right here is how you should be installing it. It's supposed to line up with this dot before you push it in, then after you push it in, it should line up with this dot right here. But on my S13 sr20, it's actually slightly different. Process is the same, but on my S13 one, let me pull up the picture. Alright, well, I couldn't pull up the picture, but I'll show you all. On my cam. Alright, now this is where things start to get a little tricky, a little hairy for me. you can see the notch on my cam angle sensor right here. Then there's a dot. See if I can focus in on it. I don't know if it will or not. Well, anyways, there's a dot right there, and then there's another dot where my thumb, where this yellow mark is. You can see those two dots right there. There we go. Hopefully. Well, anyways, you can see how that's a little different from the one that they show on the factory service manual. So, if what I'm thinking is right, it should be lined up with this first dot. Then when I install it, it should rotate to this second dot. That's what I think is right. Now what I'm going to try to do, because it's really hard to tell if it's exactly lined up or not. Because when you're looking at it, you can't really see this dot because it's underneath the cam sprocket. You can kind of see it at an angle, but you can't really tell if it's right where it needs to be. So I'm going to try to draw a line with a marker from this dot and line it up with that one. So when it's installed, it will sit like, hold on one second. Alright, so yeah, like I was saying, when it's installed, it should sit like that. So I'm going to go get a yellow marker, try to mark this as straight as I can. That way it should help me when I align it and see if it works. You can see how I've marked the cam angle sensor with a yellow marker from the notch to the dot it's supposed to be lined up with. So hopefully that'll help me out when I'm installing it. So we'll see how that goes. About that, the battery died, so I lost some footage, but I'm pretty sure I was at where I was talking about installing the cam angle sensor. Pretty much the biggest thing you want to worry about, or you have to worry about, is getting that notch on the cam angle sensor lined up with the correct notch for your cam angle sensor. And it has to be pretty much, it has to be exactly spot on, or it'll be a tooth off one way or a tooth off, either advanced or retarded. I just put all my stuff back together, took it out for a test run, and it feels a whole heck of a lot better now. So now what I'm going to try to do is adjust the idle so that I can set the timing. So I guess I have ECU talk pulled up, and you don't really need it, but I'm just using it because I don't really trust the tachometer as far as how accurate it reads. But I don't know. Use either one, I guess. Whatever you feel comfortable with. So, display my gauges. Alright, so I'm going to start this up. And when you're setting the timing or the idle, you always want to make sure that the car is warmed up. So I took it around the block a few times and, really beat on it for a little bit. Well, not really beat on it, but got it warmed up. And I also left I don't know if you can see, but I left the fans and the cooling, fan shroud off the car. That way it heat up a little bit faster. So everything's pretty much warmed up. So what I'm going to do now is start the car, let it idle for a little bit, see where it stops at. So it looks like right now it's idling at about 1,000 RPM, and the factory service manual, if I recall right, says it has to be idling under 1,000. To lock it into timing mode. So what I'm going to do is try to perform the timing, try to keep locking into timing mode and adjust the idle. And I don't know if it'll work, but we'll see. So the first thing you want to do is, like I said, have the car warmed up, and let's see what the next step is. So I got this factory service manual open, and it says the idle should be around 800 to 850, 800, or 750. So I'm going to be doing this the manual way because I don't have the consult to control it, which I really need to be buying because it would make things a lot simpler. But anyways, it says to first thing to do is warm the car up, like I said before. Second thing it says to do is turn the engine off and disconnect the throttle position sensor. So I'm going to turn this off, like it says. Going to go up there and disconnect the throttle position sensor. Alright, so here is the throttle position sensor, this little brown one right here. says to disconnect that. Just gonna stuff it right there. Alright, so now that's disconnected. Alright, so I've disconnected the throttle position sensor. Alright, next thing says to start the engine and race the engine 2 to 3 times at about 2,000 RPMs under no load. So all your lights should be off, no radio, all that good stuff needs to be off. So I'm going to start the car. And race it to 3 times, just like it says. Alright. Now it says to adjust the idle speed by turning the idle adjustment screw. And I need to be at about 750 plus or minus 50. Alright, so I'm going to open this back up. See where my idle's at. Assuming it'll cut back on. There we go. So it's a little jumpy right now, so I'm going to try to turn it down. So to do that, you need a Phillips head screwdriver, and I'll show you where you adjust it at. Alright, so I tried adjusting the idle screw, and I've got it all the way bottomed out to slow down the idle, and it's only going down to about 1500. So according to the FSM, I think I need to replace the idle air control valve. Alright, so I've adjusted the screw on the idle air control valve, and it only got me down to about 950-ish. So I'm going to turn the car off and turn it back on and see if it adjusts itself or whatever. If not, I guess according to the factory service manual, maybe the idle air control valve needs to be replaced. But we'll see what happens when I turn the car back on. So yeah, it's only idling at about 950-ish, I guess. So maybe the idle air control valve needs to be replaced. I'm not sure, but according to FSM, it should be around 750-ish, 800. So it's actually a little high, but whoa, I didn't see that my water temp was like skyrocketing. But I'm gonna put that cooling fan back on and see if I can't let this thing cool down a little bit, and then play with the timing. Alright, so yeah, like I was saying, maybe the idle air control valve needs to be replaced, or possibly the car wasn't in timing mode and I didn't do the procedure right, even though I followed all the steps. I think once I get Nissan data scan, it'll make things a lot easier. That way I can just lock it into it with the computer and don't have to worry about following all the steps and all that good stuff. But I put the fan and the shroud back on because, God, things were getting freaking hot and toasty under there. I'm glad I caught that because it was ready to peg out and blow up, probably. But I think things have cooled down enough. I'm going to take it for a drive, let some air flow through there with the fans on it and cool it down some and see if that helps. And then we'll play around with that timing. So we'll see what happens. Alright, so that's all I have for you all today. If I can figure some more stuff out, I'll be sure to post it. But thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. And I'm sorry for if the audio quality or picture quality is bad. But it is what it is. But let me know what you all think. If you all have any tricks or tips, I'd love to know. But until next time, I'll see y'all later.